My family's been on food stamps since the beginning of being a family. Look, we went through some really rough stuff, and like a lot of people, we were young and we didn't have any support. I don't have any family to help me out, and neither did my wife. So, oops, I got her pregnant, oopsie doopsie, and oops, here's a baby, and just all this life stuff. And we ended up on food stamps. And I thought, hey, we're on food stamps. Eventually, we'll get jobs, we'll figure this stuff out, and we'll figure out who's watching the kids. We'll figure all these things out, right? When you have a family, there is so much to do. And the last thing you want to worry about is like, where is food going to come from? Especially when you're young, you're broke, and for better or for worse, kind of accidentally had a kid. It wasn't on purpose, not like I was trying, but like a lot of people, hey, there's a kid on the way. And as a dad, I wanted to be the best dad I could possibly be and give my kids every opportunity to succeed. And at that point in time in my life, I was not successful. I was young, I was homeless, there was just a lot of stuff going on. And, this is my first video. So we'll talk about all those things in the future, because it's a wild story. I've been through wild and crazy stuff. Life has been an adventure, and I'm glad that I'm still here, and in a lot of ways, like, just frustrated. Like, I just want some of this stuff to be done with and over with, like the food stamp thing. And anybody who's been on food stamps knows, depending on where you live and what the stipulations for your food stamps are, it can be kind of hard to be on food stamps, especially if you don't have a job. If you have a job, that's a good thing, right? If you're just not making a lot of money and you need some extra food money because you're starving and you're tired of eating ramen every single night and having, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when you come home from work, and you're working, but that money is just not enough, well, sure, it's kind of easy. They're like, hey, show us that you're working, show us your money, okay? You don't make enough money, here's some extra money, use it for food. Don't be done with it and go out and buy like T-bone steaks and 20 boxes of cookies and a whole bunch of soda and stuff. Just eat and, eat a little bit better than ramen and PB&J and bologna sandwiches. You're allowed to do that. That's what we want. We don't want you to starve, and we want you to have some substance so you feel good for work, and continue working and try to find something better so that you don't have to have food stamps. Try to get raises. Try to just, in your free time when you have it, even if you have a family, try to find that better job. That's what this food stamps system does, right? But there's a lot of other things that can happen when you're on food stamps. Let's say you don't have a job. Well, then they require you to put in some community service, normally about 30 to 40 hours of community service. They want to see that you're also trying to find a job. So you got to be filling out applications, you got to be calling places, you got to be doing all that stuff. Well, there's a lot of people who are broke, and life hasn't been exactly great, and maybe you don't have a car. Well, if you don't have a car and you don't have friends you can rely on to drive you everywhere because they have things to do, right? Well, then you're going to have to ride the city bus. And the city bus is its own little thing, right? Anybody who's ever had to ride a city bus knows it'll get you to where you're going, right? You'll get there eventually. Then you got to do the thing that you need to do, and you got to wait on the bus. You got to hop back on it, and you got to travel back to wherever you need to go to, most likely home. And that can literally take half a day. But when you have a car, it's like, I drive there, I do the thing, however long that takes, and then I come home and I'm done. Good. And so, there's all this stuff that can happen when you're on food stamps to make things harder, because they're trying to get you to go and do the community service and find a job, but you don't have a car right now. Your car broke down. You can't find a $300 car right now. Nobody's trying to sell you one for that cheap, and you just can't find one in your area. But you have a driver's license. Maybe you don't have a driver's license. Like, life can be all of these different things, right? And recently, with our family, something's happened that's really just made me think back to when I was 18 and the stuff that I was going through then. And even though I'm 40 now and I've been through so much in between there, it's really kind of grinding my gears. So, my kids turned 16, and I told them, when you guys turn 16, I don't want you to be poor, right? Like, you've watched us struggle. Only in the last few years have things really started to work out, and we've been able to get like some knickknacks and stuff. Like, we didn't have any of this, We didn't get this until my kids were like 15, 16, So like, it's finally kind of coming around. We're digging ourselves out after all of these years of being in the system in different ways. And, so I wanted my kids to be responsible, get jobs the moment they hit 16, go pound the pavement. I know you're going to school too, but try. And look, I'm not trying to have you save anything. Go ahead and spend your money how you want right now. When you turn 18, then we'll talk about savings. Like, live a little. You guys have been poor. You can do what, it's fine. I'm chill with that. So my kids do get jobs, and they work really, really hard, and they spend their money how they want to, and they help out a lot around the house. When we need some extra money for covering a bill or food or any of that stuff, they've always been completely like, hey, I'll give you gas money. I'll give you some extra food for the house. You know, we're penny pinching and stuff, even though my wife's got a good job now and we're digging things out. I have an infant, so I'm also like staying home now watching her, which was a crazy story in itself. So, you know, all this stuff is going on, got them jobs. My daughter graduates high school. I mean, as a dad, when it's just, it's one of the best things in the world to watch your kid graduate. It's emotional. I cried a little bit. Unfortunately, there was some drama there as well, so like that kind of irked me. But hey, we'll talk about that someday, I'm sure. So she graduated, and I was like, yes, she's got a job, you know. She graduated high school. She's got a plan for college. I couldn't be prouder of my kid, right? Like, this is what I want. So food stamps every 6 months or so, they want you to go back, check out, you know, kind of where you're at in life. So they'll check your income. They'll check all the stuff that's going on in your household, how many people live with you, all the things, right? So we go through that process like we've had for years. And then food stamps is about to come around. We're at the, end of 1 month, beginning of the next. We're starting to struggle. That's the time where like food is starting to run out and we need some. And we didn't get our food stamps. Okay? Why? Why didn't we get our food stamps? So my wife frantically starts trying to figure that out for us. And it takes a little bit of time. And of course we're stressed out. We don't really have any extra, like, where's the kids pitch in when they can and stuff, but I'm not trying to be like, give me all your money. It just reminds me of when I was 18 and in foster care, I don't know how it is now, but when I turned 18 in Texas, they were like, see ya, figure it out. You got to go. If you don't have a place to go, that sucks. Sorry. Figure it out. You're 18. Bye. And that's what happened to me, along with a lot of other very things. Life was not fun for me at that point. Foster care, my mom was murdered right before I graduated. Just life was being crazy. And, so it reminds me of all that and reminds me of the struggle I was going through when I was 18. And now I'm trying to raise my family right and trying to do all the right things. I'm trying to make sure that my kids are successful so they aren't poor, so they don't have people being like, you're poor, you're taking from everybody, blah, 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 blah. It's like, shut up and go away. You have no idea what you're talking about unless you've walked a mile in these shoes. And anybody who's really walked a mile in these shoes knows you either get a stroke of luck and things work out and you dig yourself out, or it's a real pain in the neck. It's not fun, and it comes with a lot of challenges. And, so she graduates. They take our food stamps because she's 18, living in the house, and no longer going to school. But she's about to go to college, right? And we're like, well, she's literally going to college. And they're like, well, if her residence is there in your house, she's got income coming in. So, sorry, between your wife's income and her income, there's too much money in the house. And it's like, but why is it my daughter's responsibility to now cover all the food that we don't have? Right? Because we weren't getting, too much in food stamps for our family. I'm not going to say how much. It wasn't thousands of dollars. I know videos are out there like, I got myself $1,000. I'm going to go buy some steaks. It's like, you piece of... please, just go away. Go. I don't like saying mean things. But sometimes people, like, I see those videos too, man. And I just want to, like, go away, dude. Just leave. Just please. Because for people like us who are like, I'm actually struggling, I want to be able to, yes, maybe I'll get a soda pop. Maybe I'll buy a box of cookies, Okay, that's fine. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you can't live a little. I think a lot of people have that idea. It's like, you're poor, you shouldn't live at all. It's like, no. Just no. But you shouldn't go to the other extreme where you're getting like a couple grand in food stamps and it's like, I'm scamming the system. I got $2,000 this month. I don't need 2 grand. I'm buying steaks. I know. I've seen them. That's never been us. I've seen it out there, though. I've seen it in my life around me where people get way too much and they're overindulging and they're not being responsible. And it just drives me insane because it's like, I'm trying to do all the right things. I'm following all your rules that you've set out for me. I'm jumping through all your hoops, man. But my daughter turns 18 and now now that she's not in high school, she's graduated, but she's going to be going to college here in just a couple months. But because she lives with me, nuh-uh. Not even just a little bit of our money. Not even like, we're just going to downsize you a little bit. You're not going to get as much. If anything really helps, it helps. And what about the food bank people say? What about those kind of things? Food trucks, food banks. Yeah, you can go there. And I'm not saying they're not great places to go. But a lot of times you're getting stuff that needs to be eaten that day or was already a few days gone. You know, you get some vegetables and things. You're like, this is risky. Shouldn't. I know they're trying to do a nice thing, but it's not, that good. Maybe you'll get some good stuff. Maybe you won't. There's a lot of beans and rice. And it's like, hey, man, I like me some beans and rice. I'm a born and raised Texan. Some good beans and rice. I'm not great at making them, but I'll make them. And I'll still be like, yummy. But, there's a point where it's like, I'm done with that. I'm not, no offense, but I'm not Hispanic. Even somebody who's Hispanic is probably like every day, a couple times a week, sure. But every day, no, not so much. So when you're going to those places and you're getting that kind of stuff, it's incredibly helpful. It's really nice. Sometimes you might even get like a sweet treat that's not rotten yet. And you're like, sweet, I got a muffin. It's a little hard on the top, but it's soft in the middle. I'll eat that muffin. It's been a minute. So, it just sucks, right? When you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to raise your kids right, you're trying to teach them that life isn't always tough, that things can work out, and stuff like this happens, and I'm just like, well, I don't know what to say about this. It's really unfair that my daughter has to now pitch in as much as she does for our food. Sure, we also spent our own money on food as it is. That's how food stamps work. You get enough to kind of make it, then you have to spend your own money, which we were already doing. And then, there's that little bit that they give you that helps. And that little bit really helped. Now without it, we're struggling and it stinks. I know you're looking at me like, you pudgy old man. What are you talking about? You're struggling. Like, look, had a kid late in life, got a little lazy over the last few years. I'll lose some weight, hopefully. All right, well, that's the end. The food stamp system just irritates me. There's a lot more to say about it, but I could literally go on forever, and I don't want to. I don't want to drag it out further than it needs to go. So, I don't know. If you're out there and you're struggling, man, I feel you. I hope that things get better for your life. I hope things get better for our life. It looks like it's moving that direction, but sometimes life can still be like, nuh-uh. Here's a little stoppage along the way. Life could be stressful, but it's fun. All right. Later.